हे एवरीवन, ये है वॉइस विद वारिकू, मेरे यानी अंकुर वारिकू के साथ। इस इंग्लिश पॉडकास्ट सीरीज में मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें कवर करता हूँ। करियर, रिलेशनशिप्स, पर्सनल फाइनेंस, सक्सेस, फेलियर और फ्रैंकली कुछ भी और जो समय ज़हन में आता है। हर हफ्ते थर्सडे को आपके फेवरेट पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पर एक नया एपिसोड, वॉइस विद वारिकू। In my weekly newsletter, I introduced a new section sometime, I think 6 or 7 months back. And that was one new thing I learned this week. And it's been fascinating, the kind of response that I've got. In fact, this podcast episode has been inspired by Ashwin, who wrote in and said that I should talk about this journey of how do I learn something new every week and how do I document this? How do I even remember what it is? So the genesis was that a lot of people used to ask, why don't you just share how your week goes? And I created this section called 3-2-1. And 3-2-1 was 3 photographs from my previous week. It could be anything. It could be something that caught my attention. It could be a trip that I went to, a talk that I gave or something. 2 quotes that I shared online. And these are mostly quotes that I have written. And 1 new thing that I learned every week. And I thought that this was a good summary of how the week has gone by, in addition to what I wanted to share during the newsletter. And I have to admit that writing that 1 new thing that I learned about is the toughest part of the newsletter now. It's very easy for me to write the main section of the newsletter because it's just something that I'm feeling and I'm in the flow. Then I write about the book that I'm reading. That's, of course, obvious and factual. Then there is a survey, which is always fun. Then I share the top content pieces that we published last week, which is just factual. The pictures are easy, quotes are easy. But this one thing I struggle with. And the reason is not because I don't know what new thing I learned. It's because there are so many new things that I come across that to pick the best one and to even remember what all they could be is just a challenge. So here's what I started to do. To make it easier for me, I started using WhatsApp. And this is a hack that I've been using for a really long time. I basically have 3 groups pinned to the top of my WhatsApp screen. One is the Warikoo, which is the team that I work with. And one is documents and images. And one is new ideas and thoughts. And the 2 groups are essentially groups that I created with Ruchi, my wife. And as soon as I created the group, I threw her out. So now the group only has me. And I renamed them to whatever it is. And I pinned it to the top. You could also do that by sending yourself a message, but then that is only one group. Through this way, you can create multiple groups. So I have one for document and images and one for these new ideas and thoughts. So whenever there's any new idea or thought that I come across, whether it's in a newspaper or a magazine or something I'm reading online or something that I thought of or something that I read in a book, I just click it, write it, record it on a voice note, and that becomes my feed. So when I sit down to write the newsletter, I simply have to browse through the past week's recordings or clippings and whatnot, and I know what I have to share about. But what's even more interesting is while the audience gets to see only that 1 new thing that I learned, now I've created this fascinating WhatsApp group that has all the new things that I've learned across the past 6 months documented. Because earlier, if I was learning new things, it wasn't documenting and most likely I forgot about them as they moved on. But this is now such a beautiful repository of how I am acting as a student. So I love it. And I'll encourage you to also have something similar on WhatsApp. There's so many new things that we come across, so many new things that surprise us, that catch us by surprise or by awe or by shock. And I think it's just a simple way of documenting all of that so that after a year, when you're just looking back at that group or whatever note app that you use, you have a way of reflecting upon how your year has been and how cool it was. I hope it helps. Simple. All the best. अगर आपको इस हफ्ते का एपिसोड अच्छा लगा हो तो प्लीज अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे इसको रिव्यू करना मत भूलिएगा एंड डू सब्सक्राइब टू वॉइस विद वारिकू। हर थर्सडे एक नया एपिसोड आपके फेवरेट पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पर।